may be wondering what's going on here, but the real question is not what, but where. Where are we? Well, if you guessed Holland, you're halfway there. We're actually in Holland, Michigan. We're going abroad for the Tulip Time Festival, which is the annual Dutch Heritage Festival that goes on in Holland, Michigan. Now, to kick it off, what they do is they clean the streets. It's a tradition in the Netherlands. Anytime there's a community activity, they actually sweep and wash the streets. That's what's going on here, getting them tidy and ready for a big event. So, come on, let's join them. When we think of Holland, we tend to think of, well, tulips, windmills, and wooden shoes. And there's certainly plenty of those here in Holland, Michigan. But there's also a lot more. Located in the western region of Michigan's Lower Peninsula, the Tulip City was settled in 1847 by Dutch Calvinist separatists. Try saying that 10 times fast. Since then, it's remained a stronghold of Dutch heritage, boasting over 30,000 residents and 1 million visitors annually.
America in Bloom is an organization that was founded in 2001, and it is a competition so that communities that enter compete in a population category. America in Bloom sends 2 judges to each community. They spend 2 full days in the community. They judge on 6 criteria, so they look at floral displays, they look at landscaped areas, they look at urban forestry, heritage preservation, environmental efforts, and then a category that they call overall impression. So when the judges are here, we design a very specific tour for them, showing them things in our community that cover all of those areas. The competition aspect of it is certainly important. Everybody likes to win, of course, but one of the huge benefits from participating in this program is that the judges provide you with a very comprehensive report after they visit. So they tell us what kinds of things they think we're doing well and offer suggestions for improvement in the future.
We have a horticulturist that's on staff that helps design all the layouts of the beds, what varieties are where, how they look, what colors go well together. It's very similar at Windmill Island Gardens. We take great care in picking what goes where. And we have about 13 miles of roadways that we plant tulips along too, if you count both sides of the street. So we pay attention to what's where, what's coming next, and if they flow well together or not, and then we make adjustments the following year.
The tulips are an important part of our heritage. So that specifically is the reason for the tulips. When Tulip Time was first started, it was a suggestion of a local biology teacher that Holland ought to do something to celebrate its heritage, and we ought to plant tulips, and that's what got the whole thing rolling.
Well, Tulip Time allows us the opportunity to both celebrate and kind of commemorate the historical aspects of this community, founded largely by Dutch immigrants, though not exclusively. But also, I think it's an opportunity for us to demonstrate a bit of the interest that we have in horticulture and in flowers and in all things natural. And frankly, it also allows us to show off a bit, welcome guests and tourists, and have a good time doing it. Really, Holland is a tourist destination, not just during May with the Tulip Time Festival, but really year-round. During the summer months especially, we like to tell ourselves that we get the opportunity to live in a place where other people vacation. World-class beaches, beautiful lakeshore, a wonderful downtown area, and actually the downtown area is snow melted. Think of radiant floor heating. Well, we have about 20 miles of tubing underneath the city streets and sidewalks in downtown, which means that they're snow and ice-free. which in our climate with about 100 inches of snow annually is a pretty big deal and really helps us become a spot where people want to go all 12 months out of the year.
We're at Tulip Time. We're celebrating the fabulous heritage of Holland, Michigan, and their connections to Holland in Europe.
We have people come from all 50 states and at least 30 countries. I just met a couple who were vacationing here from Argentina, and they said they looked on the internet and found out about the festival, and here they are. So they just come.
They're visiting here because of the tulips. We have over 5 million tulips planted throughout the community. This is a wonderful, wonderful flower festival. We celebrate our Dutch heritage, we celebrate the tulips, and people love it. And so they come, and they see all the crazy townspeople dressed in Dutch costumes and wooden shoes, and they come and watch us scrub the streets.
People are interested in finding out about their roots and where they've come from and their family tree. So this is an opportunity for people to come and experience what it might have been like to live in the Netherlands 100 years ago.
It's a family thing. It's been handed down in my family, and I should mention that my family name is Klompmaker, which means wooden shoemaker.
We've been doing this since about 1997. This is a bare space when you would come in. We bring in 3 stoves and 4 fryers, several refrigerators, all the workers, everything has to be brought in to make it a Dutch food court.
We have Dutch breads and things over here, and herring. And the next one, they have pea soup and leek soup and pig in the blanket.
Well, we have to get pigs in a blanket.
My favorite part of the festival is the parades. I grew up in marching band and marched in a lot of parades when I was in high school, and I still just love the pace of the parades and seeing all the kids and the bands and the floats. It's just, that to me is awesome. We have a great community. It's very clean, it's friendly. Everyone walking up and down the street will say hello to you, and the tulips are spectacular, and you can see a lot about our culture and the Dutch heritage.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
This idea of distillation goes way back, at least to the 12th century, but some things have changed along the way, as you can imagine. For modern spirits, the equipment has been updated, but the methodology remains the same. Here in Holland, Michigan, we've had a unique opportunity to follow these beverages from grain to glass. Don Borson, owner of Borson Farms, starts us off with our building block, the grain.
I grow corn, soybeans primarily, a little bit of wheat, a little bit of rye, mainly for livestock producers, for livestock feed. Right now, we're trying to get the crops planted. Hopefully, weather cooperates. Within 2 weeks, they'll be up out of the ground. And then during the summer, we got to control the weeds in it, add more fertilizer to it, and by October, November, harvest it. Mother Nature plays a big role in it. We got into doing a little side selling, or whatever you want to call it, the Coppercraft Distillery. Been selling some corn, a little bit of rye, a little bit of wheat. They stopped in, wanted to know if they could buy a few bushel of corn to try distilling, and that's led up to a wagon load at a time now.
Now that we have our grain, I thought I'd take a little break before we head over to meet the miller at the Windmill de Swan.
Being a miller is a really, well, at least a traditional miller is a pretty unusual thing in today's day and age. So in my youth, I knew I loved history, and I knew I wanted to, dedicate my life to work in that field of history. Well, where do you start? And I think we really need to encourage our kids to ask that one question: will you teach me? Because just that one question can change your life. So I started working in a historical village from the age of 15, And then I got into baking on a wood stove, wood burning cook stove. And then I ran out of flour one day and I had to go to the mill for more flour. That was my chance to see a traditional mill running. And once I saw that, I was absolutely enthralled and I thought, I want to learn more. So I asked that question, will you teach me of the miller? And guess what he said?
All right, there you go.
Great.
Lisa.
Thank you.
And you open it up.
Yep.
So these are 50-pound bags.
They are.
Yeah.
And this is a soft white winter wheat that we grow here in West Michigan. We're going to pour it in the hopper.
It's locally grown.
It is locally grown, that's right.
Wonderful. And how much goes in the hopper at a time? Do you do like 150 pounds?
Right.
Would you do more than that at any given time?
I would probably load this up with about 250 pounds worth of grain at a time. Beautiful, clean winter wheat.
It is. Let me see.
Yep, here's some right there. Yep.
Oh, yeah, that is beautiful.
A little bit of wheat gum there for you. So these are the millstones.
Flavor to it as well.
Exactly. So if we have the wheat right here on the stone,
right,
yep, pour a little bit right on there. There you go, perfect. So that's the bed stone right there. That's the bottom stone. That's stationary, doesn't move at all. This is the runner, the heavier one. This one comes right on top. And when we're grinding, by the power of the wind, it'll be turning that top runner stone. It's going to grind that grain right in between.
I'll hold it there, yeah.
There you go. And so the two stones actually aren't touching when we're doing that. They're as close as a sheet of paper apart to do that grinding process, and the wheat will lubricate it between. And then
then the flour begins, or the crushed wheat begins to fall out.
Exactly. And all these grooves called furrows, that's the cutting edge to help grind that grain or cut it open.
How do you know when to stop? Because, I mean, I guess you could you ever get down to where you're just stone to stone?
Well, hopefully not. You always want to make sure you got a good flow of wheat going through there.
Get a lot of grit in there, I guess, wouldn't
That's
you?
what you don't want, exactly.
Yeah. So we've thrown the wheat into the hopper. What's next?
Well, the next step is we want to make sure that we've got some wind. So let's go check that out.
All right, let's go.
Okay.
Lisa, this windmill is colossal.
It is. It's really incredible. And I wanted you to really see that size of the scale of what we're working with here.
I mean, this is an authentic 18th century windmill.
That's right. That's right.
It's just amazing. Now, here we're going to talk about power,
Absolutely.
which is very important.
It is, because in order to do that grinding, I mean, you've got to have the power to turn that millstone in order to grind it down to flour.
Does
so
this
how
feel
do you
like
do
a
that?
pretty good day? I mean, I'm feeling some wind.
Well, you know, we've got some wind, but it's not a whole lot. So, you know, what do you do? How do you work with that? And there are some ways, you know, and methods that we can employ in order to get that power that we need.
Sure, sure.
So one of the first steps, Alan, is really getting these giant blades that are 40 feet long here to face into the wind, because that's what you want to do in order to harness that power. So that would be the first step. So everything up in that cap and these blades will turn 360 degrees all the way around.
Yeah.
You know, we get a wind way over here from the west or from the, you know, east or wherever it might be. So you have to be capable of turning in and facing the wind.
I was going to ask, what about gusts? I mean, suddenly you get this big gust of wind.
Absolutely. That's right.
Around.
And you can't really control those. You can only kind of react to those. So what that would do, you know, is it would send the millstones turning faster, that top millstone.
Yeah.
And then it's also going to naturally feed more grain in, which is really important because you want to maintain that flow.
Sure.
You keep that lubrication between those stones.
Well, I bet you got to hustle when that's happening.
I really do. I do.
Keep pouring in more and more grain.
You got it. You got it. Next, I really want you to show you how I control one of those other elements or factors in that grinding process, and that's that height of the millstone in order to get the right grind that I want.
Oh,
okay?
well, let's go.
Let's head in and check it out.
Wonderful. So here we've got some product coming through.
That's right. Let me let you feel some of this, Alan. Let me pour something right in your hand. So this is where I'm checking the quality, the texture of the flour as I'm doing the grinding. So run your hand across that. Can you see? Yeah, there you go. Look, you can see those big pieces of the bran.
Right,
it's the outer shell or the hull of the wheat.
So let's talk about the parts of the wheat, because that's what makes up whole wheat.
Exactly, because people want to buy a whole grain product. But what is that, right?
Right.
So wheat really has three main parts. You've got that bran, so you've got that outer shell.
Cover, right.
And then that's the brown fleck that you're seeing in there. And then you've got a germ that's a power-packed, nutrient-rich, you know, corner of that wheat. That's loaded with really good stuff. And then you've got the white, fluffy endosperm that's part of the wheat as well. And you know, when you buy flour in the grocery store, that's probably all you're getting.
That's all you're getting, not the other two parts, right?
So the beauty of stone ground flour is that you get all three of those parts in there. That makes it a whole grain product.
How do you manage the sort of coarseness or fineness of this product?
That's a really great question, because if I don't like what's coming out of the chute here from the millstones, I'm going to walk right over here to this rope, and I'm going to pull on this rope to adjust the height of that millstone. Remember those two millstones together? I'm maybe going to bring that top millstone a little bit closer together
to
grind it finer.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. So that's how I would do it.
Well, this is a real art, isn't it?
It really is. In the Netherlands, we have a professional and traditional grain millers guild. In Dutch, it's called the Ambachtelijke.
Oh dear, I
You
won't
won't
try
say
to say
that.
that.
It's the AKG, or AKG, but it's currently made up of 44 Dutch men and myself. And so between us, we
the
run...
lone woman.
Yeah, the lone woman, yeah, right.
So proud of you.
Yeah, thank you. But we run 42 professionally run mills, producing a product that then gets sold and shared within their communities.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah, great product.
Locally grown, locally milled.
You got it.
Well, we finally made it to the last step of our grain to glass journey, distillation. We're here at the Coppercraft Distillery, where they make premium small batch spirits by hand using local ingredients. Now, if we really get lucky, we'll get to try the official Tulip Time cocktail. They do one every year, and this year it's called the Copper Tulip.
It's a really simple cocktail to make that was intentional this year. So we're not doing any shaking and we're building it in the glass. So it's a Holland style glass. So it's a tall glass, which means that we're gonna add effervescence to it. So we start off with a fresh squeezed grapefruit juice. We use pink grapefruit juice. And then we put some of that copper tulip tea in there. The copper tulip tea is a citrus-based tea, meaning that it's an herbal tea. There's dried citrus fruit in there, so it's mostly lemon peel, orange peel, but then there's some bitter notes in there, so there's a little bit of anise, so you get a little bit of a licorice flavor in there. That's also going to add some bitterness. And then we used dried chamomile, a little bit of pink peppercorn, and then we used a little bit of lemongrass and we put extra mango in there to get a little bit of that more tropical flavor to it. And then we do 1.5 ounces of the Genever, and then we're gonna stir it with ice to chill it, and we can do that in the glass. It chills the glass and the cocktail. And then we top it off with club soda to give it that effervescence. And then we use a little bit of lavender, and you use lavender mostly for the aromatics. It gets your palate ready for that tea and those botanicals in the Yonneberg.
So I just pour it in like this, huh?
Absolutely.
There we go, look at that.
Straight from the farm.
There we go.
Milled into here.
Beautiful. And then I pull this down.
Pull that down.
Okay.
Lift up your knob and screw it down.
And batten the hatches.
Batten the hatches. And we're going to cook this to 140 to about 160 degrees for about 45 minutes so that we can start separating the sugars from the grain.
How exciting. I've never made bourbon before.
Congratulations, it's your first batch.
First time it is, yes. So we're gonna get this.
Come back in a few years and you get to taste what you made.
Yeah, there you go, that's the thing. Age helps.
Age helps.
Yeah, from here it will move to...
We'll transfer it out to our fermentation tanks, which you'll see that we have 4 closed tops and 2 open tops, which is kind of in line with how they do it down south. And there the yeast will start to take off and we'll start getting more and more flavors pulled out of the grain.
Let's take a look.
Perfect.
Kim, this is one heck of a still. My goodness, it's huge.
Thank you. Yes, we had this one commissioned for us.
It's just beautiful to look at.
Thank you very much.
Really.
It is, absolutely. And this is after we go into our fermentation tanks with the corn that we just milled and started cooking. This is where it goes and we strip out those useful alcohols from the corn.
So that distillate.
The process, we heat it up slowly.
Right.
In which it goes up into the columns, into a vapor. We cool it, which condenses down.
Here we go.
And here we go, right down into our parrot.
Amazing.
Which it goes into the back of a spirit safe.
Really? And so then from here, what happens?
Well, what's left of all the mash in here we actually transfer out in the back, shovel it out, and give it back to a dairy farmer
Wonderful.
to use for his cows for
So
supplemental feed
nothing's
because
lost.
the protein. Nope, the only thing we're putting down the drain is water.
Right. Doesn't make the cows a little tipsy?
I'm not sure, but I gotta believe it. It helps them a little bit at the end of the day.
Sort of making it nog.
Exactly.
It's funny.
Exactly. And over here we go from our stripping still into our finishing still. Please do not touch it right now because you can feel the heat coming
it is
off.
hot,
of it.
yeah.
Yes. And this is where we take the alcohols. We're actually dividing it into 12 different alcohols in order to get the true ethanol, which is really what we want.
That's the basis of the bourbon.
The basis of the bourbon,
Right.
absolutely. And with that, we separate over here into our spirit safe into 3 different chambers, a heads, hearts, and tails.
I see.
The heads is the part of the bourbon that nobody wants to drink. And then we get into the hearts, which is the true essence of a bourbon.
I see.
And when we get to the end on the tails, that's where some of the flavors and the natural sugars come in to help make
Maybe
each
even
batch.
some oils as well.
Even some oils to make each batch unique on its own. Would you like to try to sample?
Oh, absolutely. So this would be baby bourbon.
This is baby bourbon, unaged.
Unaged. And
Straight out.
So ideally this would be what, 4 years from now you would have it ready to serve to your customers?
Yes, we prefer to go with a 5.
It's got a wonderful aroma already.
Doesn't it?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Cheers. That's nice.
Nice finish. Can you imagine what it's going to do in a barrel?
I can't. That's, yeah, all those flavors over time.
Absolutely, and each small batch is an art in itself.
Yeah.
And it's a unique flavor and profile that we're
And I think that
gaining.
makes it very desirable.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And our goal is that each person will enjoy it and appreciate the art and the essence of the environment around them in which it was made.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, you're doing a great job.
Well, thank you for sharing it with us.
Yeah, well, keep it up.
Cheers.
What do you think of my costume? We're in Centennial Park, where we're trying to break the record of the most people dancing in wooden shoes or clomping. So, have you ever known anything to be so noisy, so colorful, or so much fun? So let's clomp the record. Hope you've enjoyed the show. We'll see you next time.